Hi, my name's Tim, and I'm living with ALS.
The first time I saw Tim was probably at the Kudzu Wish shows when I was like 16 or 15 at the Underground at Guilford College.
And it was August 2008, outside of Elsewhere, downtown on Elm Street, that we finally ended up properly meeting and speaking to each other.
He came down to one of our events and had been helping them with some media tech stuff earlier that season, and I had just started with being the assistant director of development there, and so we met over me asking him for a lighter.
You know, it was one of those like, oh, I know we've met before, or we've probably met before, have we met before? And oh, I used to play shows so I said, you know, I mentioned I went to Guilford College, and she said, oh, I used to see shows at Guilford. And I said, okay, well, we used to play a lot of shows at Guilford. And she kind of said, yeah, I know who you are. And I'm thinking, Jesus, 7 years in a band, you know, people think that musicians, just because you play music, you actually get the women. That was never the case with me. So here it is, you know, 4 years after the band broke up, it's finally paying off. Later that night, everyone at Elsewhere and I went out dancing at a redneck lesbian bar, and you know, we ended up dancing after a while. It took me a little bit of, you know, I was really shy. I can be terminally shy when it comes to women, and to prove it, despite obvious interest between the two of us, I did not ask for her number that night, or ask for any other follow-up, whatever. And which I immediately kicked myself for and went back to Faith's house and started attempting to cyberstalk her, but I couldn't find her on MySpace, which was MySpace was what people used back in 2008. She ended up finding me the next day on MySpace, and then we just started having this, we were, you know, conversation back and forth. It was almost like instant messenger, but it wasn't. It was just like letters back and forth, but we were obviously waiting for each other's writing. So finally we exchanged numbers and, you know, decided on dinner on Sunday night.
So on our first date, he had tried to take me out to dinner, but he forgot that it was Sunday and everything in the Bible Belt is closed on Sunday. And so he ended up coming back to my place and cooking me dinner.
I think I stayed there for probably till like 2 or 3 in the morning. And it was very obvious very quickly that there was something there.
And halfway through that night, I ended up calling my best friend Jennifer while I was in the bathroom and bitching about how I was supposed to go to grad school the next fall, but I can't because I was going to marry Tim. And how much that sucked.
Of course, my shy self at the end of the night would, you know, give each other a hug and kind of stand back, and we're both a little tipsy and we're just kind of staring at each other. And she did indeed say, boy, this is awkward. And I said, well, let me make it a little bit more awkward, and went in for the kiss, and ta-da!
The best and coolest thing about Tim is that he's just him. He is probably one of the only human beings I've ever met that is just 100% themselves. He's never tried to be anything but himself, and he's really comfortable with who he is. And I find that to be really magical and refreshing, because almost no one's like that. And he just knows what he wants, and he knows what he can do, and he's just full of hope and full of fight, and just really passionate, and the silliest, goofiest motherfucker you'll ever meet. And it's the best thing, because nobody can make me laugh harder than Tim. He's just my best friend. It's pretty awesome.
You know, she's a spitfire. If there's something on her mind, she'll say it. She is, you know, she's out to take on the world. She's really out to save the world. She's a very strong woman, and a strong-willed woman. Of course, that also lends itself to stubbornness occasionally, but you know, it's totally worth it. It's all in all, her being so strong-willed is a very good quality about her. We started dating You know, our first date was kind of the end of August or the start of September, around there. I think the start of September. And within 2 months, the bike accident had happened and the foot drop had started going. It's probably 7 or 8 months after we started dating and got the official diagnosis. I knew she was going to stick around, but I wouldn't have faulted her had she not.
Like, of course I was gonna stay. He was my Tim. It just never ever crossed my mind, like, oh, you can totally go ahead and leave. That still never crosses my mind. People bring it up all the time, and it's just like this total blank in my head where like a thought or response should be, but it doesn't exist. I don't know. I just wasn't built to not be here with him.
We made an agreement that day that I wasn't going to do the noble thing of pushing her away and not letting her be a part of this, as long as she made sure that this didn't consume her life. This wasn't the focus of her life, that her life, she had a life outside of this treating, or not treating, but of dealing with this disease. And we've stuck to that, really. I thought long and hard about it beforehand, and the implications of legally marrying each other would work against us instead of for us. Both financially, I wasn't sure which of my debts she would be responsible for, and I wasn't about to leave her with that.
I can't get legally married to Tim in the eyes of the law, because if we got married, we would make too much money as a household, which would be anything over than like $1,200 a month, which is bare minimum anyways. Basically, we'd have to live under the poverty line to get legally married. Otherwise, we don't get any benefits from Medicaid or Medicare. My
disability gives me $750 a month. As a single person, I have to be under $902 or something strange like that in order to maintain my Medicaid, and I think my disability as well, but I might be wrong about that. I'm still confused by all this shit.
And it's just totally ludicrous and ridiculous. It's just absolutely amazing to me that the government puppeteers so completely that it's going into individuals' relationships and preventing what traditionally is so sanctified and important, and just totally taking away, it's like basically the choice of either being able to sustain a livelihood or being able to get married.
Estimated that an ALS patient costs up to $200,000 a year, and so we needed all the coverage we can get. So if you're really, really rich or really, really poor in America, you're okay. But if you're not, you're totally fucked.
Well, I'll die trying, I'll never give up. Even when the odds are down, when no one gives a fuck. And even when pigs are flying, hell is frozen up. Well, I'll die trying, I'll never give up. And I know it's hard to love someone whose head is in the stars, but don't give up, hold on soon, until I've kept my promise and have given you the moon. I will die trying, I'll never give up. Even when the odds are down, when no one gives a fuck, not even